I am standing in my own garage right now, and my phone is ringing. The screen shows one word, Dad. 6 months ago, this same man looked me in the eyes and said, "Pack your things and leave." 20 years I gave to our family business. 20 years of grease under my fingernails, of early mornings and late nights of promises that one day it would all be mine. And in one afternoon, he threw it all away for my brother. Now he is calling. The phone keeps ringing. I let it go to voicemail. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. And if stories about family betrayal and finding your own path speak to you, hit that like button and subscribe. Now let me take you back to where it all began. My name is Dwight Patterson, and I grew up with motor oil in my veins. Our family shop, Patterson Auto Repair, sits on the corner of Main Street in a small town in Ohio. My grandfather Walter built it with his own 2 hands back in 1965. I still remember the first time I walked through those garage doors as a little kid. The smell hit me first. That mix of rubber grease and something metallic that I have never been able to find anywhere else. My grandfather was underneath a Chevy pickup, and when he rolled out and saw me standing there, his face broke into the biggest smile. That shop was more than a business to our family. It was where 3 generations of Patterson men proved their worth, where my grandfather taught my father everything he knew, where my father was supposed to teach me. My mother Linda passed away when I was 8 years old. Cancer took her in the span of 14 months. I remember the hospital visits, the way her hand felt thinner each time I held it, and the day my father came home alone. Scott was 11 then. He locked himself in his room for a week. But me, I went to the shop. I sat in the corner and watched my father work. He did not say much, but having me there seemed to help him. From that day on, the garage became my second home. By 12, I was sweeping floors and organizing tools. By 15, I could change oil and rotate tires faster than most adults. By 18, I turned down a college scholarship because I knew exactly what I wanted to do with my life. I wanted to run Patterson Auto Repair. My father told me with his hand on my shoulder, "This shop will be yours someday, son." I believed him with every fiber of my being. Scott was different. He was 3 years older than me. Smarter in the traditional sense. Books came easy to him. He got straight A grades without trying, earned a full ride to a university in Illinois, and majored in finance. He used to call the shop our little grease pit whenever he came home for holidays. He thought working with your hands was beneath him. He wanted corner offices and expensive suits, and a life far away from our small town. After graduation, Scott moved to Chicago. He got a job at some investment firm and barely looked back. Phone calls became rare. Visits became rarer. Christmas cards arrived late if they arrived at all. My father pretended it did not hurt him, but I saw the way he stared at the phone on holidays, waiting for a call that never came. Meanwhile, I stayed. I learned. I grew. Ray Martinez, our senior mechanic who had been with the shop since 1985, took me under his wing. Ray was like a second father to me. He had these massive hands covered in permanent grease stains, and he could diagnose an engine problem just by listening to it run. "You have your grandfather's hands, kid," he told me once. That was the highest compliment he could give. For 20 years, I poured everything into that shop. I knew every customer by name. I remembered their cars, their problems, their kids. Mrs. Henderson always brought cookies when she picked up her Honda. Old Mr. Thompson told the same 3 jokes every single time. The Garcia family trusted us with every vehicle they ever owned. That was not just business. That was community. That was legacy. Then one Tuesday evening, my phone rang. It was Scott. I almost dropped the phone from surprise. We had not spoken in nearly 2 years outside of a few awkward text messages. "Hey, Dwight," he said. "I am thinking about coming home for a visit. Maybe stay a couple weeks." I did not know what to say. Scott never visited for more than 3 days. And even that felt like torture for him. But I told him, sure, that would be great. Dad would love to see him. He arrived on a Friday afternoon. I was at the shop when his rental car pulled up. A sleek black sedan that probably cost more per day than I made in a week. Scott stepped out wearing a charcoal suit that fit him like it was sewn directly onto his body. His shoes were shinier than anything in our town. But when he took off his sunglasses, I saw something in his eyes that did not match the expensive clothes. There was worry there. Fear, even. Dad came out of the office, and the way he hugged Scott, you would think the prodigal son had returned. Which I suppose he had. I watched them embrace, and I felt something twist in my stomach. I told myself it was just surprise, just the shock of seeing my brother after so long. That first week, Scott spent most of his time with Dad. They had private conversations in the office with the door closed. They went to dinner without inviting me. Dad started acting strange, checking his phone, constantly speaking in hushed tones. I asked Ray if he noticed anything, and he just shook his head slowly. "Something is going on," he said. "But I do not think we are going to like it." I should have trusted Ray's instincts. He had been around long enough to smell trouble from a mile away. The truth came out in pieces like a puzzle I did not want to solve. One night I stayed late at the shop to finish a transmission repair. Everyone else had gone home. I was walking past the office when I heard voices inside, Dad and Scott talking in low tones. I should have walked away. Instead, I pressed my ear against the door. Scott's voice was shaking. "I lost everything, Dad. The firm went under. They let everyone go. I have been living off credit cards for 6 months. I owe more money than I can even count. The debt collectors they call every day. I do not know what to do." My father's response was soft-pained. "Why did you not tell me sooner? We are family. We help each other." "I was ashamed," Scott said. "I was supposed to be the successful one, the one who made it out. And now look at me." I stepped back from the door, my mind racing. Scott, the golden child, was broke. He had been pretending this whole time. The expensive car was probably rented on a maxed-out credit card. The suit was probably the last nice thing he owned. I felt a strange mix of emotions. Part of me felt bad for him. He was my brother after all. But another part of me wondered what this meant for the shop, for my future. I found out 2 weeks later. Scott started coming to the shop every day. At first, he just observed. Then he started asking questions. How much revenue did we bring in monthly? What were our overhead costs? Had we considered expanding? He used words like market penetration and scalability and digital transformation, words that had no place in a small-town auto repair shop. Dad was fascinated. He followed Scott around like a student following a professor. "Look at how smart your brother is," he told me one afternoon. "He knows things we never even thought about." I tried to explain that our shop did not need Silicon Valley buzzwords. We needed reliable service, fair prices, and honest work. That was what Grandpa built. That was what our customers expected. But Dad was not listening anymore. Then came the proposal. Scott sat us down in the office and laid out a presentation. Actual slides on his laptop. He wanted to modernize the shop, expand into a franchise model, open locations in neighboring towns, implement an online booking system, hire a marketing team. And who would run all this, I asked, already knowing the answer. Scott smiled. "I would, of course. I have the business background, the vision." I looked at Dad, waiting for him to shut this down. Instead, he was nodding along, eyes bright, with something I had never seen before. Hope, maybe, or the desperate desire to believe that his oldest son had finally come home for good. I spent the next 3 days making my case. I showed Dad our books. Our customer retention rate was above 90%. Our revenue had grown steadily every single year. We had 0 debt. Grandpa would have called that a successful business. But Scott had planted seeds of doubt. "You are thinking too small," he told Dad. "Dwight wants to stay comfortable. I want to make us rich." The family meeting happened on a Sunday evening. Dad sat at the head of the kitchen table, the same table where we had eaten thousands of meals together. Scott sat to his right. I sat to his left. Ray was not invited. "I have made a decision," Dad said. His voice was steady, but he would not meet my eyes. "I am transferring management of the shop to Scott. He has the education. He has the experience. He can take us to the next level." The words hit me like a physical blow. I actually felt my chest tighten. Dad, I said I have been working at that shop for 20 years. You promised me. And you will still work there, he said. Scott will handle the business side. You will handle the mechanical side. It is a partnership. It was not a partnership. I could see Scott's smirk from across the table. He had won, and he knew it. I wanted to fight. I wanted to scream. But what could I do? It was Dad's shop, his name on the deed, his decision to make. So I swallowed my pride and agreed to try. The next 6 weeks were torture. Scott came in like a wrecking ball. First he fired 2 of our longtime employees. Said we needed to trim the fat. Those men had families. They had worked with us for over a decade. I found out when they came to me, in tears, asking what they had done wrong. I had no answers for them. Then Scott changed our hours. End of Scott. We used to open at 7 in the morning, because that is when working folks needed to drop off their cars before their shifts. Scott pushed it to 9. We lost a dozen regular customers in the first week alone. He raised prices by 40%. Said we were undervaluing our services. More customers walked away. The Garcia family, 3 generations of loyalty, took their business elsewhere after Scott charged them triple for a brake job. The expensive equipment came next. Scott ordered a $50,000 diagnostic system we did not need. State-of-the-art, he called it. I called it a waste. Our old equipment worked perfectly fine. But Scott wanted the shop to look modern for potential investors. Investors who never materialized. Ray pulled me aside one afternoon. His face was grim. This boy is going to destroy everything your grandfather built, he said. You need to talk to your father. I tried. God knows I tried. I brought Dad spreadsheets, showing our declining revenue. I showed him customer complaints. I explained how Scott was alienating everyone who had ever trusted us. Dad listened, but he did not hear. You are just jealous, he said. You cannot stand that your brother is finally part of the family business. Jealous. 20 years of loyalty, and that was what he thought of me. The breaking point came on a Thursday. I was doing inventory when I noticed something wrong. Equipment was missing. Not just small tools, but a hydraulic lift and 2 diagnostic machines. I checked the books and found nothing. Then I checked Scott's desk when he was at lunch. I found receipts. He had sold our equipment to a dealer 3 towns over. The money went straight into his personal account. He was using our family business to pay off his debts. I confronted him that afternoon right in front of Dad. I had the receipts in my hand, proof that his golden child was a thief. Scott did not even flinch. He turned to Dad with this wounded expression. Do you see what I am dealing with? He said. Dwight has been against me from day one. He is trying to sabotage me. He probably planted those receipts himself. Dad looked at me. Then he looked at Scott. And in that moment I saw him make his choice. Dwight, he said, his voice cold. If you cannot support your brother, then pack your things and leave. This is no longer your place. I stood there frozen. 20 years. 20 years of my life. And he was choosing a son who had abandoned him over one who had never left. Ray was standing in the doorway. I saw tears in his eyes. He did not say anything. What could he say? I took off my work shirt, the one with Patterson Auto Repair stitched on the chest. I folded it neatly and placed it on the counter. Then I walked out without looking back. I heard Dad call my name once, but I kept walking. That night I sat alone in my apartment staring at the wall. I had lost everything. My job, my inheritance, my family. And for what? Because I dared to tell the truth. The first week after I left was the darkest time of my life. I did not eat. I barely slept. I just sat in my apartment and replayed every moment, wondering what I could have done differently, wondering if it was somehow my fault. Tina found me on day 4. She is a nurse at the county hospital, and we had been dating for about a year. She used her spare key to let herself in and found me sitting in the dark. She did not say much at first. She just sat beside me and held my hand. "Your worth is not defined by their blindness," she finally said. That sentence cut through the fog in my brain like sunlight. She was right. I had spent so much time seeking my father's approval that I had forgotten my own value. I was a damn good mechanic. I had skills that people needed. Just because my family could not see that did not make it less true. By the end of that week, I made a decision. If they did not want me, fine. I would build something of my own. I started job hunting immediately. Word travels fast in a small town, and most people knew what had happened at Patterson Auto Repair. Some looked at me with pity, others with respect. A few told me privately that they thought my father had made a huge mistake. Marcus Webb owned a garage about 20 minutes outside of town. His place was smaller than ours, but he had a solid reputation. I walked in one Monday morning and asked if he was hiring. He looked up from the engine he was working on and studied me for a long moment. "You are the Patterson kid," he said. "The one who actually knows what he is doing. News really does travel fast." Marcus hired me on the spot. Said he had been looking for someone with real experience, not just some kid fresh out of trade school. The pay was decent, and the work was honest. It felt good to have grease under my fingernails again. Within a month, something interesting started happening. Customers from Patterson Auto Repair began showing up at Marcus's garage. They asked for me specifically. Mrs. Henderson brought her Honda in and told me she had tried to go back to the old shop, but some young man in a suit was rude to her and overcharged her by $200. Old Mr. Thompson said he did not trust anyone else to work on his truck. The Garcias came back too. Marcus noticed the influx. "You are bringing your own customers here," he said one afternoon. I explained the situation, and he listened without interrupting. When I finished, he nodded slowly. "I have been thinking about retiring in a few years," he said. "How would you feel about becoming a partner?" I almost cried. After everything I had been through here, was someone who saw my value, who wanted to invest in me. We worked out a deal over the following weeks. I would buy into the business, gradually taking on more responsibility as Marcus stepped back. It was not the same as inheriting my grandfather's shop, but it was mine. Something I earned on my own terms. 6 months after I was thrown out of Patterson Auto Repair, I opened Dwight's Auto Care. It was a small space, just 3 bays and a tiny waiting room. But it was mine. Tina helped me paint the walls on opening day. She had this streak of blue paint in her hair, and she was laughing at something I said. And in that moment, I felt something I had not felt in a long time. Hope. The first week was slow. I worried constantly. Had I made a mistake? Was I foolish to think I could do this on my own? Then the customers came. Slowly at first, then in a steady stream. Word had spread. The Patterson kid opened his own place. He is the one you want working on your car. 3 weeks after opening, Ray walked through my door. He looked older than I remembered, more tired. He was carrying a bottle of whiskey and wearing a sad smile. "I quit," he said simply. "I could not watch that boy destroy everything Walter built." He paused. "Your grandfather would be proud of you, Dwight." I hired Ray that same day. Having him in my shop felt like bringing a piece of my grandfather back to life. Over the following weeks, Ray told me what had been happening at Patterson Auto Repair. It was worse than I imagined. Scott had burned through every bit of goodwill the shop had built over 60 years. He owed money to suppliers. He had driven away almost every loyal customer. The employees who remained were looking for other jobs. The shop my grandfather built was dying, and there was nothing anyone could do to save it. I will not lie. Part of me felt vindicated. I had warned them. I had shown them the numbers, explained the problems, begged them to listen, and they had chosen Scott over me. Now they were paying the price. But another part of me, the part that still remembered Sunday dinners and birthday cakes, and my father teaching me how to change my first tire, that part just felt sad. Sad for my father. Sad for what we had lost. Sad that it did not have to be this way. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon. I was underneath a Ford pickup replacing a rusted muffler when my phone buzzed in my pocket. I slid out from under the truck and checked the screen. Dad. I stared at that word for a long moment. My father had not tried to contact me once in 6 months. Not a call, not a text, not even a message through someone else. And now suddenly he was reaching out. The phone kept ringing. I thought about all the times I had called him over the years. All the updates about the shop, the questions about his health, the attempts to maintain some kind of relationship even after he chose Scott over me. He always answered. He always had time for me, until he did not. I let the call go to voicemail. Ray looked over from his workstation. He did not say anything, but his eyes asked the question. I shrugged and went back to work. An hour later, I finally listened to the message. Dad's voice was barely recognizable. He was crying. Not just sniffling, but actual sobs that broke up his words. Dwight, he said. Son, I am so sorry. I was wrong. About everything. About Scott. About you. The shop is. We are going to lose it. Everything your grandfather built. Everything. Scott took out loans I did not know about. He owes people money. I do not know what to do. Please, Dwight. Please come back. Help me save it. I need you. I need my son. The message ended. I sat in my office for a long time, phone in my hand, staring at nothing. Tina came by after her shift that evening. She found me still sitting in the same chair. I played her the voicemail without saying anything. Are you going to call him back? She asked. I did not answer right away. 6 months ago, I would have dropped everything and rushed to help. That was who I was. The good son, the reliable one, the one who always put family first, even when family did not put him first in return. But 6 months ago, I did not have this shop. I did not have customers who trusted me. I did not have employees who depended on me. I did not have a future that I built with my own 2 hands. If I went back, what would change? Dad would apologize, promise to do better. And then the next time Scott needed something, he would make the same choice all over again. I had seen it happen my entire life. Scott was the favorite. That was never going to change. I wrote a letter that night. I did not send it. I just needed to get the words out. Dad, I wrote, I forgive you, but I cannot save you. I cannot save the shop, because doing so would mean destroying everything I have built. And I will not do that. Not again. I hope you find peace. I hope Scott learns from this. But my path is here now. This is my life. I put the letter in a drawer and never looked at it again. Weeks passed. I heard through Ray that Patterson Auto Repair closed its doors. 60 years of history gone. Scott apparently left town owing money to half the businesses on Main Street. He went back to Chicago, probably to start the cycle all over again somewhere else. Dad sold the property to pay off the debts and moved into a small apartment on the other side of town. I did not reach out. Neither did he. It was almost a year later when I ran into him. I was at the grocery store buying supplies for a barbecue Tina and I were hosting. I turned down the cereal aisle and there he was. He looked small. That was my first thought. My father had always seemed larger than life to me. Strong hands, broad shoulders, a voice that filled any room. But the man standing in front of me was stooped and gray. His clothes hung loose on his frame. His eyes had lost their spark. Dwight, he said. His voice cracked on my name. We stood there in silence for what felt like hours. Other shoppers moved around us, oblivious to the weight of the moment. I am sorry, he finally said. For everything. You were right. About Scott. About the shop. About all of it. I should have listened to you. I should have trusted you. You were the one who was always there, and I threw that away. I looked at my father, this man who had taught me everything I knew, who had broken my heart so completely that I thought it would never heal. And I realized something important. The anger was gone. Somewhere along the way, while building my new life, I had let it go. I forgive you, Dad, I said. I mean it. But I needed to find my own way. And I did. He nodded slowly. I know, he said. I am proud of you, son, for what you built, for who you became. I just wish I had not had to lose you to see it. We did not hug. We did not make plans for Sunday dinner. Some things once broken cannot be fully repaired, but we exchanged phone numbers. We agreed to try, not to go back to how things were because that was impossible, but to build something new, something honest. It has been 3 years since that day. Dwight's Auto Care is the most trusted shop in the county. Ray still works beside me, though he keeps threatening to retire for real this time. Tina and I got married last spring in a small ceremony in her parents' backyard. Dad was there. He sat in the back row and cried the whole time. Scott and I do not speak. Maybe one day that will change. Maybe it will not. I have learned that you cannot force reconciliation. You can only leave the door open and see who walks through. If there is one thing this whole experience taught me, it is this: your value does not depend on whether other people see it. The people who should believe in you the most are sometimes the ones who fail you the worst. And that is okay. Because in the end, the only person who needs to believe in you is yourself. Sometimes, losing everything is the only way to find out what you are truly capable of. Sometimes the worst betrayal leads to the greatest freedom. And sometimes, just sometimes, the call you do not answer is the first step toward answering a much more important question. Who do you want to become? I know my answer now. It took losing my family business, my inheritance, and nearly my sanity to find it, but I would not trade this journey for anything. Because this shop, this life, this future, it is mine. I built it, I earned it, and no one can ever take that away. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever been underestimated by the people closest to you? Have you ever had to walk away from something you loved to find something better? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button and share it with someone who might need a reminder that their worth is not determined by others. Subscribe to this channel if you want more stories about overcoming betrayal and finding strength in the hardest times. Thank you for being here with me today. I hope you carry this truth with you. Believe in yourself, even when no one else does, because you are worth it.